Get ready to get into this. Okay, let's begin the first map of the SCA Regional Clash Finals.
All 15 teams going to be dropping onto Gili Island. It's the first map they're going to play in this best of 7 series. Now we say best of 7, it's not winner takes all if you win 4 maps, but instead it's going to be your cumulative points over 7 games. So if you pick up 1,000 points in game 1 but only 10 points in game 2, going into game 3 you'll have 1,010 points to start that match. So taking a look, all 15 teams loading in, all 60 players loading in, and Southeast Asia, like you pointed towards, Pyra, one of the most developed regions when it comes to Rules of Survival. It's worth taking note that Rules of Survival as a game has only been out for about a year now. It was the first mobile Battle Royale game, which again, it's all these players are not playing on the PC version of Rules of Survival. All of these players are playing on the mobile version of the game using devices that have been authorized by the tournament organizers. So none of these players playing from a computer, all using their thumbs as well as the touchscreen of their phones or their tablet devices. It's a really large esports tournament for mobile that expands across Southeast Asia, Europe, as well as North America, and even some small tournaments in China as well. We're taking a look at the first play zone here, Pyra, for map 1. Very central, none of it going over towards the river. And quite a few teams already inside the play zone for the first map.
Yeah, only a handful actually going a little bit further out due to drop locations. We saw that one of our teams, Pirate King, actually were the ones that dropped over by Squirrel Depot. And for the most part, everybody else has at least 1 or 2 representatives inside the circle. Let's take a look, though, at them. That's going to be Lion, just with the rest of the team going to be getting their loot on early on. But we won't likely see a whole lot of early skirmishes even within the circle, just because this is not something that Southeast Asia likes to do. They tend to play a lot more passive in the first 10 minutes.
Especially when you're coming into the grand finals, right? You're going to double down on that passive gameplay. You're not going to look for these early skirmishes. Losing 1 or 2 people early on can be devastating for your positional finish at the very end. A lot of the Southeast Asian teams know the value of a positional finish as well. It grants you a large boost of points that abundance of kills cannot otherwise guarantee. They use kills more as a bonus than they do for the actual points finish. So they're not as aggressive as some of the teams that we see from Europe or half of the teams that we see from North America. All of these teams will be playing very passive today. One very interesting thing about the drop that we didn't see is historically we would see teams like Pirate Team as well as ECO Gaming and sometimes Off Gods move over towards the Observatory. We didn't have a single team drop at the Observatory today. This is rather intriguing because a lot of the 15 teams that we have today have designated drop zones. We'll see NRX John 316 always drop at logging camps. They're not going to move away from that vicinity no matter what. That's where they drop. Previously, Pirate Team as well as ECO Gaming used to drop towards Observatory, and they would not budge from that position no matter what. So it seems like with the 2 weeks of a break leading up to the grand finals, they have adapted their strategy. They're not going towards the Observatory for map 1. It could just be a map 1 game plan, but we'll have to see if they do change that going into map 2.
It's worth noting it not 100% universal as well. We talked about how NRX John, famously known for dropping by logging camps, I believe they dropped just about on the center of it this time around. So not every team changing up the strategy, but when you're the Kings, when you're at the top, not necessarily a whole lot of reason to change what works.
A lot of the adaptation to drop zones came because of NRX John 316. A lot of teams have come out and said, we don't want to fight that team early on. They're just too hard to take down in a strict 50-50 fight. They will win the gunfight too many times than you can actually count. So what they'd rather do is drop away from where that team's dropping. You know, go north of the logging camps, go east of logging camps, south of logging camps, just away from where they traditionally loot. And because a lot of the top tier teams have very strict looting patterns where they go from A to B to C to D and then go into the next zone, it's easy to avoid them in the first 10 minutes. And when you look at Southeast Asia as a region, how they are so passive, very slow, as you can see, 5 minutes in, nobody has fallen yet, no gunfights yet, not even a single shot fired that wasn't accidental. It makes sense that you try to avoid the very easy to read loot paths of some of the high tier teams. You don't want to go to logging camps because NRX John is there, so you go somewhere else. And it creates these bubbles. Similar to what we saw towards the Observatory, when we have some of the Thai teams dropping there, it creates a bubble where you have 1 or 2 Thai teams that drop there, and if anyone else enters that bubble, they immediately get gunned down. Or towards Rust Bay, where you have 2 to 3 teams that always drop there, But because they always drop there, the 3 teams have designated drop spots inside of Rust Bay where they don't even fight each other. Some will go towards the south, some will take up the entirety of Rust Bay, the others will go towards the compounds that are north of Rust Bay. So it's obvious to see that teams are learning from these looting paths and have started to avoid them. We do have the first kill of the map coming out though, as Fnatic's Vorik takes down one of the players, blowing up his truck, I believe it was.
I think you got to expect that teams that are going to run afoul of Fnatic early on. You pointed out their old name, Off Gods. They are typically going to be a very strong team to face early on in the game, but even more so towards the later stages. See how it all goes down as we got a bit of a car chase going through. Lion is actually going to get spotted. This is one of those teams that was far out. Pirate King, they were over by Squirrel Depot, but now they're finding themselves in a bit of company.
Yeah, running into a couple of shots there. Lion's okay. Takes half his health and damage, some damage on towards the sports car as well, but perfectly fine. Disengages from that fight. I do want to talk about Fnatic really quickly. Fnatic, one of the newer organizations joining the Southeast Asian Regional Clash. Previously, they were known as Off Gods, and they were the #1 team from Thailand. That's for last split, though. They were automatically seeded into the group stages because of their performance during the regional clash that happened in Bangkok, the offline tournament. They were not the first place coming out from Thailand this season, but as Fnatic were also automatically qualified into the tournament. A really big organization that has picked them up. They have done so well in the early as well as the mid game of the tournament. If you run into a firefight against Fnatic, 95% of the time it's going to Fnatic as long as it is before 23 minutes on the map. If it's before 23 minutes, Fnatic are insane at playing this game. As soon as it hits 23 minutes, a lot of the Thai teams start to falter. And this is why we say, collectively as a region, Thailand's probably the strongest region in the world. If you had to, if you're a betting man, you had to place your bets, the Thai teams are a very safe option to go to. The reason being is until 23 minutes into the map, you expect all 5 to be alive. All 5 of the Thai teams should be there. They should be ready to rumble. They have such a good read on how to play the early as well as the mid game. But as soon as it gets to the late game, that's where we start to see them falter. If you can draw your minds back all the way to the first ever map that we had after the qualification stage, where we had #1, a team from Thailand that was controlling a hill towards the northern side of the map. They had ample zone position. It was so good that from 15 minutes until 25 minutes, they didn't have to move. The zone just kept collapsing on towards their hill. They were in the center of the zone and they controlled it so well. What was even worse for them, and I say worse in the sense that they messed up big time, was that they knew exactly where every other squad was. Driving in, they knew there was a squad that was in the compound to the south. They could see the valley below them where there were 2 other squads fighting. They could see beyond the valley where there was a squad coming down from the hill. So they knew exactly where everyone was. They had a good read on where they needed to move, and they had the options to move into the circle, but they failed on the execution. And this wasn't just a one-map wonder. This was a reoccurring trend for a lot of the Thai teams. Fnatic, ECO Gaming, Pirate Team, always having difficulties maneuvering into the final circle and throughout the final play zones, which, yes, we understand, that's the toughest part of this match, surviving to the very end, but it keeps happening. And that's why they've done so well collectively as a region, but they're not #1 because they can't get past that final hurdle of actually winning the match more often than not.
We'll be looking to see if any of the teams from Thailand can really improve on that weakness, because it has been something that's consistently plagued them. I have to say, though, Fish, if I had to choose between having a bad early game on the regular or a bad late game on the regular, I know which one I'm picking for point-wise. Remember, placement is so important, and we've seen a lot of teams that have had trouble with this early stage. None of them are here right now because guess what? That's not good enough to make you into the finals. We're taking a look at where the circle will continue to shrink down to. It looks like it'll be bordering logging camps on the north side, Wheattown on the east, and Rust Bay on the south. There's still plenty of looting spots available.
This is a perfect circle to explain exactly that. If you look at the circle, look at the teams that are inside. #1, #2, #3, and #4. Out of the top 5 teams, 4 of them are already in this next play zone. Very early on, taking position. They're not looting anymore. They're getting ready for the mid-game as well as late-game fights, because 15 minutes in, that's where you get your mid-game skirmishes. You expect 4 to 5 squads being taken down during this phase, but it's not an all-out brawl. You can still disengage from these fights. You can take them if you want to, or you can play a little bit more passive. So they're preparing for that. They're getting ready for the fights. If a fight comes their way, they can take it. Extra 40 points, take all the loot from that other squad. They're ready to go. Then they move into the late game where they're also ready for that because they're closer to where the next circle is going to be. However, after you look at the top 5, there's only 2 teams out of the remaining 10. So that's 4 out of 5 from the top 5 and then 2 out of 10 from the remaining teams that are in this circle. It really shows why that early game is so important and why the best teams make their run into that play zone nice and early.
It also means that the teams that choose more central areas are more likely to be able to stay there a little early on. This is why we see teams like NRX John always drop down by logging camps. As a reminder, too, if you guys didn't tune in before the start of the game, we have our diamond draw question is, what is your favorite loot zone? And I think all these teams could definitely give us a different answer, but certainly most teams giving a wide berth to NRX John early on for good reason.
Now, there are 2 teams that do buck the trend, though, of playing in towards the play zone, which is SEAL Team and Fate. I think they're the best examples for that. These are your med-stratting teams. I do know that SEAL Team have kind of moved away from it, so they might not be executing the strategy here today unless it's a we have to go for it. You can see them on your screen there. They're inside the play zone.
Yeah. Fate is definitely outside, though.
Yep, close towards Russ Bay, but they have all 4 members strong, so they might not be going towards the mid-strat today. Fate were a team that executed it religiously. They were the premier mid-strat team, and I say this because coming into the previous regional clash, they were the number 2 seed in the entire tournament, from placing 2nd every single time. I believe during that season they had won a single map, and they were able to take 2nd or 3rd just from points alone. That's how strong they were with the med-stratting execution. I've been talking to their team, and they have a surprise for this tournament. They would not tell me what it was, but they said they had something up their sleeves.
SEAL
something. No, this is from Fate.
Oh, Fate, excuse me.
Something they have been practicing, and something they're ready to debut for the Grand Finals and the Grand Finals only. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes out to see what that is. Who knows? It could be something to do with Medstrat, could be something completely different, but we'll have to watch and see.
We saw some interesting, surprising plays over the course of not just this tournament, but also in the North American Cup. Some interesting spots for boosts, things like that over by Massout Factory, Thermal Power. We'll see if there's any of those more interesting location-based strategies going forward. This time, everything fairly standard. This is the epitome of Southeast Asia early game play. 1 player dead in the spate of 12 and a half minutes. And you see everyone posting up. Looting phase just about done, but it's all about getting into those safe, easily defendable houses that you know are going to be central to the circle.
And you'll get about 2 more minutes of passive gameplay, and then we should see 1 or 2 of the squads fight. It's just inevitable because there's not much real estate left unless you want to stay outside the zone, which is not too devastating at this point in time. Until about play zone 5, you can survive outside the zone just from bandages. If you want to play it even safer, pop a single sports drink, and you're going to be able to stay topped up for the entire duration of that sports drink as well. So it's very easy to play outside the zone. The only problem has been when teams move from outside into the zone with so many squads already set up and in position. That's what causes these 14 to 15 minute fights. Teams like Fate or SEAL, when they previously used to play the Medstrat, they would deliberately use this to their advantage. They would know that teams are set up, they would know teams are waiting for teams to come in, so they keep 1 player outside as an insurance policy, and they would continue to medstrat and heal outside the zone for the entire duration of the game, surviving to about 28 to 30 minutes into the match, based on the number of meds that they had, and that's usually enough to get 2nd to 4th place. 2nd place more often than not as well if there's no other team medstratting. But also, they realize that the 3 other people they have moving into the zone, they're going to be under heavy fire, they're going to be attracting a lot of attention, and are going to be running into teams that have already set up position. So they treat these players as expendable. Their job is not to win the match. Their job is to take down as many other players as possible. Because if you can get 3 to 4 frags every single match, and finish 2nd every single match as well through medstratting, you are guaranteed to win 90% of the tournaments you participate in. Not maps, 90% of the tournaments you will win. There have only been a handful of tournaments, and this is including the small tournaments, the regional clashes, your North American, your European series. There's only been a handful of tournaments where the number 1 team has had more points than what a 2nd place with 3 to 4 frags can achieve. And we've seen teams execute this well. I mean, Fate have done it so well. They did it very well for the first half of Season 1. faltered in the grand finals and haven't done as well during this season, but we are starting to get a few of these early fights.
Yes, we are. See La Pro and Iron Pro both getting taken down. That's a member of number one. Grabbing both of them.
Just 15 minutes on the dot here, Pyro.
Yeah, this is when it starts. It all begins. But I did want to go a little bit more in depth about your point about med stratting after this all ends. I'll wait until that happens. Looks like number one going in a couple of caravans between Gestarm and Feta. And the rest of the team, Nemesis is going to be the one driving it through. They'll be able to find a handful of players. You could see just off the corner, it was actually Small Boy who was watching all the action unfold. That is one of the players that has had a very impressive performance over the course of this event. In fact, taking a look at the stats that we've actually been able to gather for them, AeroV's player, Small Boy, he's actually got the highest average kills per map. He averages about 2.5, slightly under that, but that's a dude who's almost getting 3 frags his own per map.
Pretty much. I mean, he's been the star player for AROV. When you look towards that squad, you think of Small Boy. He's the player that has been doing really well, constantly. As we've been talking, Fate's Joel has been knocked out outside of the play zone. It's something about Fate and not getting into any of these skirmishes in the mid-game, but still losing a player here and there.
Yeah. Well, they're going to rely on that star player to do a little bit more. But now that it's quieted down for just a second as we keep watch over number one's caravan strategy. Go ahead, Fish.
This is also why when you ask at the start of today, can AROV do it? I think they need to improve a lot on their gameplay, but if there's going to be a player that pulls them over the line, it is going to be Small Boy. He is the person to look out for. He is the star carry. As NRX are in a fight against number one, this is a top-tier fight.
Yeah, it definitely is. Early on, this is going to be good for a lot of the teams that are kind of looking from the outside in. Gestarm is going to get knocked down very quickly here. 6ix9ine executing this positioning very well as he finds so many spots to just open fire. He gets Feta out, already taken down, and it looks like he's going to get blown to smithereens. JZ will get the final finishing blow, in NRX. John 316 finding everybody. That's Nemesis is down.
You've got to be kidding me. 6ix9ine just flicks, he sees Nemesis in the distance, and immediately gets double headshots. That's insane. He took down Feta in a moving vehicle. He twists over to find Nemesis, and now there's only one player from number one left. This is one of the top tier teams from Thailand, and it's the Kiss. They're hunting him down.
Yeah, they just go and drive it all the way through. Kiss, he's trying to get away, but 1, 2, 3, and he's going to get taken all the way down. The defending champions drawing first blood here to get a squad wipe.
You've got to be kidding me. This is why this is the best team in the world right now. NRX showing their long-range play on point. They can defend sieges really well. They can use even the rushdown strategy really well. They're playing out of their minds just to start this match.
And they're even staying safe enough. You could see Rayong from Pirate Team on the high ground was trying to knock them down. Didn't actually grab Neptr before he got into the cover of those canals. He's been able to get even more. Let's see, WBS still hopping, jumping, skipping. Rayong trying to find him. Look at how well this guy stutter steps, Fish.
WA triple F here. Or WAF double F, we should call them. Hiding behind trees at the moment, doing what they can. This is one of the strong teams coming out from Indonesia that, during the group stages, they don't look so hot. They don't look fantastic. But as soon as they get into the grand finals, we see them place in top 5 positions. That's what they did in the last regional clash.
Yeah.
They were written off. They were the last seeded team to qualify in the last regional clash. And then they go into the grand finals and they take a top 5 spot. This is a team that when it comes down to the wire, when it's in the final parts of the championship, they just tend to find something else and manage to claw their way into a top 5 spot. They're trying to fight their way through here, so in a bit of a sticky situation for map 1, but let's see if they can pull it off.
And the crosshairs of Rayong from Pirate Team, the sole representatives from Indonesia here in the grand finals. They nearly didn't make it into the top 15 and would have had to be pushed through just by virtue of being the only competitors there, as Neptr puts up his riot shield just in time. Rayong unloads a hail of bullets, but it misses him by a hair's breadth. We check in, there's a few more fights happening here. SEAL Team trying to hide behind this boat, as Ezio, Marius having them caught in the sights. This is the fights across the river that we're seeing here on the north edge. Sanji going down, going low, and he's going to get taken out here. It looks like Mashiro is going to finally get the killing blow. There's a lot of action happening here, Fish. We're all of a sudden starting to reduce the numbers down to 48.
And those are your mid-game fights that we talk about. So he got here just trying to do what he can. He gets going to get taken down as well. He's got. He tries to save his ally, but he's going to get taken down for it.
And you saw on the screen top left there, AROV officially eliminated from round number 1. And holy moly, what is happening across the map here? Too fast for us to even catch. Roger crawling on his hands and knees. Rayong, Jackie trying to help their teammate get back onto his feet. Pirate team, one of our representatives here from Thailand. And moving through, and it looks like WAFFF actually do get eliminated at the end. They had a great start, but unfortunately they couldn't keep it up with the pressure.
They couldn't climb up that hill. They were trying to do what they can. We saw them make these big plays, jumping up with the right shield and whatnot, but at the end of the day, they didn't have the position to make their way into the next play zone. Slowly having people fall here, and these mid-game fights are being rather extended. Normally from 20 to 23 minutes we get a bit of a break, but the mid-game fights have kind of spilled over into the late game here.
Yeah. Circle still favoring a number of these teams that found these river-bound houses. A lot of explosions coming through Lonely and getting down to the ground floor. These teams try to break through here. On the edge of the play zone he is. Looks like Fnatic getting involved as well. CT managing to pick up Aichi off screen there, but we're checking back in with this fight between Ezio and Pirate King. Remember, Pirate King got involved really early on. Even though they dropped very far away from the circle over by Squirrel Depot, they made tracks to get back into the action quickly. Outside this compound, though, number 1 still looking for a few more members there, and there's a hail of bullets once more.
Fnatic going up against Fire Rose across the river from Rust Bay. I believe it was quite an even trade so far. Fnatic losing a few players, Fire Rose losing a few players, but we're not watching that action just yet. Ezio still sieging this compound.
Yeah, trying to maneuver their way in. Pirate King taking up residence across from them. But they don't want any neighbors, that's for sure. And they're going to have to move, that is Pirate King, since the circle will close in. Remember, while we've been talking, play zones have been slowly shrinking down. We're in play zone 5. This is where it starts to stink. Fnatic, they get eliminated off screen. Didn't expect that one to happen when half the players are still remaining.
There you go, Fire Rose. They had the compound first. Fnatic were trying to breach to get knocked down. Here's Fury Rose. Jadar just trying to do what he can, holding inside of this little shack.
Yeah, 2 of his teammates are down. He can't afford to try and get him up. Rayong is sniffing at the door right now, trying to come his way in. And it looks like there's going to be one elimination and another. They will be dropping down. That's Fire Rose nearly eliminated off the screen. Now we see it finally happening.
And we're still going back to this fight. It looks like they're being pincered here. Ezio, they were looking forward against one of the squads. Mashiro and Shibuya are looking back, but now there's another squad coming in right behind them.
Oh, this may not look so good for Ezio Gaming at the moment. Fights have been almost consistent in the last 5 minutes here. Let's see who comes out on top with only 23 players remaining in map number 1.
Yeah, this is no rules, and it kind of sucks for Ezio Gaming here, because not only were their kills stolen when they were sniping people across the river, they were taking down SEAL Team, but it was actually Mashiro and friends that got all the kills. Now they're pincered. Now no rules is coming in from behind, and they have to deal with the squad that's right in front of them as well.
Yep.
Here's the next zone.
Even tighter, but it is centering on the south side of that river. Taking a look at the team still up and available. NRX John 316 still front runners. NR Warriors, that's the team with the no rules tag.
And there you go.
Seal Gaming, Ezio, a lot of the top teams still in this.
Going into the late game, and 5 teams have been eliminated here, Pyra. So we're getting down to 10 squads that we're looking to fight for that final play zone. 23 minutes in is where we're going to get the all-out battle. That's where the zone's a little bit too small for these teams to hide. The play zone does too much damage for too many teams to be outside the zone itself without med stratting. So in just a few minutes, we're going to get that big all-out brawl. The zone is now collapsing and will be finished in a second.
Very, very shortly. 23, almost 24 minutes. Meanwhile, the fights still keep on happening. Brenny Sports actually get eliminated through it all. And now we're going to start watching some of these teams and our Warriors making a move as they no longer can stay within the spot they've been occupying. Ezio finally going to start falling down. Majapagi gets one hit onto Rids. Lancer's going to drop as well. Looks like Ezio Gaming, they're losing a lot of players here, and I don't think they're going to be able to survive for much longer.
NRX also losing a few players here. Pirate Team doing a good job in the final zone.
No one's immune.
Ezio Gaming do get eliminated, as you mentioned.
It's another Thai team dropping down, as you mentioned.
It's 2 of them.
It's I believe 3 if you include number 1 that got knocked out earlier on. Now, this is what we talk about. Thai teams, they seem to do fantastic for the first 20 minutes, but it kind of all goes awry after 23.
Yeah. After the mid-game fights, it was only Fnatic got taken down, and that's a surprise because Fnatic are meant to stay alive till 23 minutes. It's now where they're meant to be faltering, but the rest of the Thai squads slowly losing out. Ezio Gaming down. We have another of the Thai teams down as well. Pirate Team is still in this one.
So are Pirate King. Those were the Thai teams that actually placed the lowest coming into this final as well. They've managed to stay alive down to the final 16 here. Watching Akame from the high ground.
Look at
the sights on everyone.
Look at the next play zone, though. Currently, a lot of the compounds that are just east of Rust Bay are inside the play zone. So, a lot of teams are taking refuge in here, which is why we're having the slower late game. Look at the next play zone, though. It's in the middle of a road, which means that on either side, you're not going to have too much cover. This is going to be a big brawl. When this zone finally collapses and the play zone's moving in here, teams are going to have to start moving.
Here comes TikTok, joining the rest of his team on the edge of the circle. They're trying to crawl their way to the high ground. A few more runs happening here. This is Majapagi from number 1, looking for Maki, looking for Shibuya. He's got one down. He's got 2!
Takes down 2. There's still some person left alive. It's Mashiro, but Majapagi's outside the zone.
Yeah, Pirate King's in a lot of trouble right now. Majapagi, he is just outside on that zone. We'll see what the rest of the teams can do here. We're going to be taking a look at NR Warriors. Flo and the rest of the team still in this compound will have to move pretty quickly. All of a sudden, a lot of kills start flying. Rayong's going to fall down. So is Akame. Up from those high grounds. Some of the Vietnamese teams starting to get eliminated. That's Pirate Team. That does get knocked out, though.
Another one of the Thai squads being taken down in the final play zone.
I think it's just Pirate King.
It's only Pirate King.
And they've only got one member.
They're the team that evolved their gameplay in the final few weeks of the competition, creeping up from last place in Thailand to taking a really good finishing.
Here comes Kikabaji driving through into the zone. Flo's going to get dropped down by TikTok, and it looks like
good jukes from TikTok.
This might start to look pretty good for Just Team here towards the end. Vietnamese team's lasting to the end. As I say it, though, TikTok gets dropped down by Majapagi. And our Warriors still in this one with 11 players left up and available.
Kikopagi as well driving the truck in. Takes refuge right behind it. TikTok's going to be taken down, but no rules. Holding on to this final zone quite well.
Yeah, Mr. Lonely finds Majapagi, though. That's pretty good right now. One of our Vietnamese squads, Mr. Lonely trying to keep cover behind this, but that is going to get blown. Kikapaji getting revenge for his teammate.
He got knocked down.
He did get knocked down.
This has turned into a 1-on-1. Mr. Lonely does have to heal, though. He's very low in hit points.
Oh, boy. And our Warriors.
You can see Flo is down. Oh, good shot. Right through.
Right through the wreckage of the car. Excellently played right now. Just Team find themselves eliminated into the final 10. Kikapaji going to get some help up from his teammate.
All right, so no rules. They're going to take the final zone. That's unexpected. I would not have expected no rules to be the team that takes that final zone. We've done a really good job here.
Mashiro driving through as well. Let's see, this is the last remaining member of Pirate King, trying to get within the safety of the circle. Also see Kikapaji there. And they're just going to be driving around. This is going to be a bit of a hectic finish, Fish. Mashiro, Kikabaji, they're just going to be meleeing each other. Oh my god, are you kidding me? He had the Riot Shield and he used it as a battering ram.
He actually gets him in the final circle. Take that, Shield Bash for the win. There's still so many teams left alive here though. Look at that, Fate, Seal, NR Warriors, John 316, Pirate King, Fury Roads, all med shredding outside the zone here, Pyra.
Yep, this is what we talked about. It's a big thing for Southeast Asia, so it'll be kind of a race. Whoever had the most meds is going to be able to place the highest, but talk about stacking some frags. Some of these teams have definitely been able to do that within the central area of the circle, and it really does narrow down here. So this should go the way of NR Warriors for game 1 with 2 players still up.
And we spoke about NR Warriors, right? I was surprised to see that they took the first map. NR Warriors are a very strong team. It's Pirate King just get eliminated outside the zone. So it's just a question of who can med strat better. You got Seal Team, Thuk trying to do what he can. Fate just got eliminated very early on into the med strat war. So it's just Fury Roads as well as Seal Team that are left in this med stratting battle. But NR Warriors is the team we should be talking about. This is the team that plays 3rd overall when it comes to points. And they're the 2nd team from the Philippines, just behind NRX John 316. So for a long time, it's always been about NRX John 316. Now we actually get to take a look at the 2nd team coming in from the region. And they had a really strong performance here. The odds were against them too. Running into the final zone, they didn't have a good position. They had to move out from the compounds into the open. They lost 2 players doing that, but they were still able to make it into that final zone and win some of these clutch battles, even with the Riot Shield out, just bashing somebody away.
Adaptation is absolutely key, and I think that's a big part of why NR Warriors have been so successful. You talked about the banner of the Philippines has been typically carried by the defending champions, NRX John 316, but NR Warriors are a big part of why this region looks so much stronger. As there is NRX John, Jay-Z is going to be the one med stratting outside the zone, but he ain't going to get first place. He falls down, and that's going to be the end of it. So it's actually 2 Philippines teams in the top 2 to kick things off, followed by 2 of our Vietnamese squads. That's Fury Roads and SEAL Team.
And then we have Fate coming at the 5th place. That is the one that NRX John 316 got. It was the first full